In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the southern states of the United States introduced a series of laws known as the Jim Crow laws. These laws were designed to enforce racial segregation and systematically oppress African Americans. The term Jim Crow itself was a pejorative used to demean black citizens. Under these laws, African Americans were barred from many employment opportunities, including becoming bus drivers, and were forced to use segregated public facilities. One of the most blatant examples of this discrimination was the segregation on public buses, where black passengers were required to ride in the back and often had to surrender their seats to white passengers. Despite constituting 75% of the bus system's riders. Beyond these unjust laws, African Americans faced daily mistreatment by bus drivers who frequently assaulted them, shortchanged their fares, and even left them stranded after they had paid. This institutionalized racism continued unchecked for decades until one brave woman, Rosa Parks, decided to make a stand. Rosa Parks was already an active member of the civil rights movement, but a specific event fueled her determination. On November 27, 1955, she attended a mass meeting where she learned of the acquittal of two white men who had brutally murdered Emmett Till, a 14-year-old black boy, for allegedly flirting with a white woman. The injustice of Till's murder and the failure of the legal system to hold his killers accountable deeply affected Parks. It was in this state of mind that she made her historic stand just 4 days later on December 1st, 1955. After a long day of work, Rosa Parks boarded a Montgomery City Lines bus at 6 p.m. She paid her fare and took a seat in the first row of the colored section just behind the 10 seats reserved for white passengers. Initially, she did not recognize the bus driver, but as the bus filled up, she realized he was James Blake, the same man who had left her standing in the rain in 1943. As the bus continued along its route, all the white only seats became occupied. At the third stop, near the Empire Theatre, several white passengers boarded. Blake, noting that white passengers were standing, moved the colored section sign further back and demanded that four black passengers relinquish their seats. Rosa Parks recalled that when Blake ordered them to move, she felt a powerful resolve. When that white driver stepped back towards us, when he waved his hand and ordered us up and out of our seats, I felt a determination cover my body like a quilt on a winter night. Three of the four black passengers complied, but Parks did not. She later explained, the driver wanted us to stand up, the four of us. We didn't move at the beginning, but he says, let me have these seats. And the other three people moved, but I didn't. Instead of moving to the back, she simply shifted towards the window seat. When Blake confronted her directly, saying, why don't you stand up? She calmly replied, I don't think I should have to stand up. Blake then called the police. When officers arrived, she asked them, why do you push us around? She recalled him saying, I don't know, but the law is the law and you are under arrest. As she was being taken away, she knew in her heart that this would be the last time she would submit to such humiliation. Rosa Parks was charged with violating Chapter 6, Section 11 of the Montgomery City Code. Technically, she had not been sitting in a whites only seat, but in the colored section. However, that did not stop the authorities from pressing charges. Edgar Nixon, president of the Montgomery chapter of the NAACP, and Clifford Durr, a white attorney and friend, bailed her out later that evening. The news of Park's arrest spread rapidly. On December 4, 1955, local black churches announced plans for a bus boycott. The following day, the Women's Political Council, or the WPC, distributed 35,000 leaflets urging African Americans to stay off the buses on December 5. The handbills read, "We are asking every Negro to stay off the buses Monday in protest of the arrest and trial. You can afford to stay out of schools for one day. If you work, take a cab or walk. But please, children and grown-ups, don't ride the bus at all on Monday." Despite heavy rain on that day of the boycott, black residents of Montgomery persevered. Many walked miles to work, while others organized carpools or took black operated taxis that charged the same fare as buses. More than 40,000 African Americans participated in the boycott, marking a turning point in the civil rights movement. Recognizing the need for leadership, local activists formed the Montgomery Improvement Association to oversee the boycott. A young and relatively unknown pastor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was elected president. Under his leadership, the movement gained momentum, emphasizing nonviolent resistance. For 381 days, the black community of Montgomery boycotted the bus system. The financial strain on the transit company was immense, and dozens of buses sat idle for months. Finally, in response to a lawsuit filed by civil rights activists, the US Supreme Court ruled in Browder v. Gale that segregation on public buses was unconstitutional. On December 28, 1956, the Montgomery bus system was officially desegregated. However, Rosa Parks paid a heavy personal price for her stand. She and her husband lost their jobs due to economic reprisals against activists. She endured constant death threats and harassment, making it impossible to continue living in Montgomery. Eventually, she and her family moved to Detroit, where she continued her fight for justice and equality until her passing in 2005. Rosa Parks' courage ignited a movement that transformed America. Her quiet defiance challenged an unjust system and inspired a generation to stand up against racial oppression. The Montgomery bus boycott was not just a protest against segregated buses. It was a declaration that African Americans would no longer accept second class citizenship. Park's actions proved that one person's bravery could spark monumental change, and her legacy continues to inspire the fight for equality to this day.